So before we actually do the worksheet and this actual statement of cash flows, we gotta figure out all these classifications. So over here, I got a whole list of various things that can happen, of how we can get cash in. A company can get cash because it sold some stuff to customers. It can get cash because it collected some accounts receivable from previous sales. It could get cash because it sold off some equipment. And it may have investments that it got interest and dividend revenue on. Maybe the company had loaned money in the past to somebody and now they're collecting a notes receivable, cash would come in for that. Then you get cash from issuing stock or issuing bonds payable. So there's all different things that cash can come in from. Cash can get paid out to suppliers for various, inventory or other things that the company needs, operational things they're using in the operations. Gets paid out as wages to employees, as taxes to various government agencies. And maybe the company had taken out a note payable, and so it's paying interest to lenders or interest to bondholders. It could be paying dividends out to stockholders to keep them happy. Or they could be using cash to buy property, plant, and equipment or other long-term assets. So to have all of this be useful, sort of organized into a useful format that makes sense to people and they can, make decisions based on, they classify these various cash flows in and out as operating, if they relate to the operations of the company, investing, and financing. And then, of course, the non-cash investing and financing. So let's see where each of these might fit. So if you get sales for the customers, collecting accounts receivable, those are probably going to be, operating cash flows. Okay, so we would have. I'm just going to let's see. What's the best way to do this? We would have these. I'm just going to go like this: operating cash flows. Okay. How's that? Then I don't have to rewrite everything. Okay, but selling property, plant, and equipment, that's not related to the the sales or the services that the company provides. That's a little bit different. Selling property, plant, and equipment, cash flows from that might be more properly called investing. Now, interest and dividend revenue, those are coming in on investments that the company might have made. We invested in some debt investments, remember from Appendix C, and we've gotten some interest revenue. Or we've invested in some stocks and we've gotten some dividend revenue. Those would probably be in this investing section as well. Collecting a note receivable, that's not really operational. So if we got money from that, that would probably be sort of an investing activity too. All right. But then we come to issuing stocks and issuing bonds. That's a little bit different. We get cash from issuing stock or cash from issuing bonds. Those are what they would relate to financing activities of the company. That's how we get the money to do everything. Okay, and then we get cash paid out to suppliers. Oh, this is going to get really messy. All right, well, that's definitely operational. Wait a minute, I've got an idea. Maybe I should change colors here and do these in green. How's that? All right, let's see how this works. Okay, there we go. Cash paid out to suppliers. That would be operational. Employees' wages, yeah, they help with the operations of the company, so that's operating. The government taxes, okay, yeah, we have to pay taxes, otherwise they'll shut down our operations. But and lenders, interest, we're paying interest now, that's going to end up, in operating. And this will start to make sense a little bit later on. But when we're paying dividends to stockholders, that's going to be a financing activity. And when we're buying, paying cash out to buy property, plant, equipment, that's going to be investing. This got really messy really fast. I think the notes will probably be better, but I guess live and learn. Okay, so the whole idea is we're going to be classifying these. So when we're looking at our operating account, we've got things like inflows from cash sales to customers, from collecting accounts receivable, from interest revenue and dividend revenue. We've got outflows to suppliers, we've got outflows to employees for wages and the government for taxes, lenders for interest, and to others for various operating expenses. So these are operational activities. And so basically rather than try to memorize or figure this out, it probably makes more sense to figure out what types of accounts are we going to call operating activities. And so basically it's going to be our revenues, it's going to be expenses. So these are accounts that are found on the income statement. So revenues, expenses. So if there's an account that's on the income statement, that's going to be landing in the operating section, okay? And also, and they're not really shown here, but also gains and losses. And those also from the income statement. So these are the types of accounts that will show up in the operating section, but then accounts receivable and various other adjustments we make, it's also going to be our current assets and our current liabilities. Okay, notice that they're current. So when we're looking at our types of accounts that are operating, these are the ones that are going to be classified as operating activities. Anything on the income statement, revenues, expenses, gains, losses, current assets, current liabilities. You're investing, the types of accounts that'll show up here, and this is where we have either bought or sold property, plant, and equipment, bought or sold any other long-term assets like investments in stocks or bonds. This is the actual sale of them or buying of them. And then you could throw in making loans to others or collecting notes receivable. All of these activities are investing activities. And the type of account that we're going to be, that involve the investing activities are really going to be your long-term assets. So if you see something that's a long-term asset, you know that relates to investing activities. Financing activities, what types of accounts do we have here? If we look at this, it's going to be long-term liabilities. That would be our bonds payable, long-term, so our bonds payable. So long-term liabilities. And then we've got the issuing stock, the paying of dividends. These are all stockholders' equity accounts. So this is, I think, the easiest way to keep track of all of the various things, because you can see it would be really confusing if you tried to figure it all out and memorize it and say, oh, well, what does this go here, does that go there? But if you just keep in mind, if it's operating, it's on the income statement. Revenues, expenses, gains, losses, and then your current assets from the balance sheet and your current liabilities from the balance sheet. So when this is your operating section. Financing, your investing section, that's only long-term assets. Your financing, that's where your long-term liabilities and stockholders' equity accounts show up. So actually, if you wanted to really make things easy for yourself, you just remember investing, long-term assets, financing, long-term liabilities, stockholders' equity, anything else is operating. Okay, so that's our classifications. And then we have this other last one down here, non-cash investing and financing. And that's just what it says, non-cash. So this would be, we're going to convert bonds to stock. Sorry, we can convert bonds to stock. We can issue stock or bonds for to buy property, plant, and equipment. These don't involve cash. So those are your non-cash investing and financing. And when we do some examples, you'll see how they come in. Now, on the notes, I have examples of the classification of these various accounts along with solutions. And so you might want to work through those and then just let me know if you have any questions.